Squirrel, what's on your mind? I've been thinking a lot about violence. I've been seeing all these awful headlines in the news about people killing each other or war or all sorts of horrible things. And I'm wondering why humans hurt each other and if there's any hope for something better than this. Oh, okay. Yeah. So there's a lot to this. So, first of all, I don't think it's useful to think about violence in terms of violent people, criminals, and so on. I think if you're very honest with yourself, you'll find there's a seed of violence in all of us, which by some standards would make us all criminals. So these labels aren't helpful. Humans are also social animals. So it would be crazy if they were violent all the time. Being social animals never would have worked. Humans would never have survived. The point is, I think, yes, humans have the capacity for violence, but I don't think they're fundamentally violent creatures. Which gets to your question, why do humans hurt each other sometimes? The short answer is that they do so when they are not thriving. Maybe they're living in fear or scarcity or danger or anger. This is where I would direct your attention to your own society. Are people's basic needs being met? No. How many of your neighbors have secure housing, have secure food, have physical safety? Frankly, not that many. And there's more. What are the stories being told in your culture about violence? I mean, look at your movies and your TV shows. What are the heroes up to? Are they settling their differences with nonviolent communication? No. They're killing bad guys. And honestly, the whole good guy, bad guy obsession is part of the illness. And don't get me started on these crime documentaries. This culture is obsessed with murder and mayhem. And then there's frickin' video games. Don't get me started. But again, the question is why? 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 Why do we grasp for these stories of good guys and bad guys, good and evil? Why do we reach for guns and other weapons? One is that there is a giant mountain of unacknowledged fear in this society. People are terrified. They're afraid for themselves, for their loved ones, for their futures, for their day-to-day well-being. They're afraid of their neighbors. My goodness. And I think the other piece is that there's just this incredible current of powerless rage in this culture. People are right to feel anger about this society. It's not just. People aren't thriving. People are being hurt. But people also feel like they don't have any control over their own lives or any say in what's happening, which is terrifying and infuriating. Are we surprised then that people seek power in the form of violence? And for all the people out there who are living in very real scarcity or even imagined scarcity, are we surprised they're behaving like scared animals? They're lashing out. Well, that all makes sense to me, Squirrel, but God, that's a pretty bleak picture. You know what? You better let my fuzzy, fuzzy tail rub your little nosy nose. Is that better? Yeah, that is actually notably better. So, in everything I just told you, though, is the answer to your violence problem. Violence is not the disease. The disease is the sick society. Nothing about this society is set in stone. It can be changed. These are just stories, after all. So, what if we told a story about a society that was about the thriving of all beings? Humans already have the capacity to meet all of their needs. So, scarcity is a myth. And this whole idea of separateness, of us and them and good guys and bad guys, is just total bullshit. What if the story was about how we're all connected? About how the human story is one story? It's much harder to harm someone if you believe that you are one with them. No one person is going to solve this. It's got to be collective. Safety is not getting a gun, it's getting to know your neighbors. But if you want to take individual action, go after the violence inside you. Are your actions violent? Are your words violent? Are your needs being met? Are you really listening to yourself? Are you expressing what you need to express? But please, when you're working on yourself, don't try and defeat your violence or your anger or your fear, because that in itself is a violent idea. You're not at war with yourself or anybody else. That's just a myth.